Is the Synthesis update better than No Man's Sky Beyond? What is this new impactful update that Hello Games has in the pipeline for No Man's Sky? And is shipbuilding coming to the game here in the near future? All of this and more here in today's video. Travelers here in the LZ, welcome back, and I know I've not been putting up a whole lot of videos, mainly because I've been busy doing other things that are not No Man's Sky, and I'm gonna be pretty honest with you, and if you follow me on Twitter at the LZ Tweets, I've talked a little bit about why I just didn't like No Man's Sky Beyond. Full disclosure, I am not a VR user, I don't intend to, I just don't see the appeal. More power to you if you do, because VR was the center post, really 90% of what Beyond was VR. The other part of No Man's Sky Beyond was really just reorganizations of what was already in the game and quality of life stuff that just broke the game nearly beyond repair anyway. My Twitter feed for this game has been pretty full of lots of complaints about Beyond, mainly around some of the prominent bugs that still kind of plague the game. More on that here in a little bit, but Synthesis came out the day of Thanksgiving. It was honestly, I'm shocked by how good of an update it was, and really, it wasn't a hugely significant update. But what it did with the game was so much better than what Beyond could have ever dreamed. As a matter of fact, this weekend I've spent pretty much the majority of both Saturday and Sunday playing the game, and I could barely put it down. And so you're probably wondering why that is, and I took a little bit of time to figure out why that is too, and really, they kind of snuck in something with Synthesis that the game has been sorely missing for a while. No Man's Sky is this crazy sandbox with not a whole ton of toys to do things with, right? I've been saying in my videos for No Man's Sky for largely the entire year that the game has sort of lacked the carrot at the end of the stick. It talks about being an exploration game, but yet there's not much to find. It talks about being a game for trading, but there was never much to even really spend your money on, right? When you hit a couple of $1 billion, like there's really nothing to spend your money on other than maybe an S-Class freighter, right? So when No Man's Sky Synthesis dropped and introduced the new ship terminal for scraps, upgrades, and augmentations to your existing ships, Hello Games also introduced the potential for really understanding what this game needs. And to sum it all and boil it all down to one point of what No Man's Sky has always needed, it's needed to just let its freaking hair down. You have all of these basic features in this game, all foundational, with nothing built on top of them, and I feel like Synthesis really did that for me. I spent a majority of the weekend, I kid you not really on planets, but in space stations and the Anomaly, just buying ships, expanding parts, scrapping my unwanted ships, upgrading my existing ships. To me, that's a really fantastic gameplay loop that really is impressive to me, and if there was one thing that I wish Hello Games would continue doing, it's that. Now, I know my comment section is about to be filled with people that just, I like No Man's Sky the way it is, don't change it. And I'm gonna say something that's maybe just gonna rub you, okay? So be prepared, just get ready. Get the cringe out of your system now, okay? Just think about it here, just 1 second. I think you're wrong. And I know that sounds coarse, and I'm gonna explain to you why that is, though. Everything that separates No Man's Sky from being a good game to a great game lies in all of the potential that No Man's Sky and Hello Games have failed to realize that No Man's Sky holds. You have this gigantic universal sandbox with truly an infinite amount of potential to do crazy things with, and the crazy things aren't there. Now, I know that a lot of you that are really purist about this game don't agree with that, and that's okay. My point is that any amount of craziness that Hello Games can add will not negatively affect what you love about the game. Some Twitter conversations that I've had about No Man's Sky surrounding shipbuilding, which are largely agreed with, have some folks saying that they don't wish to have shipbuilding added because they are worried that it would completely destroy the point of searching for ships. And this is completely antithetical to me. Just picture it for a moment that if No Man's Sky were to just here in like 90 days put out a sort of shipbuilding update, right? And just let's get anecdotal and imaginative for just a moment about what that might look like. Let's just say in one tiny update, they inject like a few dozen more ship parts. Nose cones, wings, engine types, cockpits, you name it. Now, of course, you'd be able to keep your existing ships. I don't know why you would ever need to lose those. But even if you didn't participate in a shipbuilding aspect of the game where you would build ships from scratch or maybe take your existing ships and remove parts and replace them with others. Even just alone, the fact that they would introduce a lot more shipbuilding assets would greatly improve your ship hunting RNG fest. There'd be no regression in this whatsoever. These are the kind of updates that No Man's Sky needs, and I know that it may not be a popular opinion, but I would find updates like Abyss and Visions much better for the game, and Synthesis now too. What they all have in common is that they did one targeted thing or a couple of smaller targeted things to an individual aspect of the game, which made an absolute ton of sense, right? You have the Abyss update, which greatly expanded and improved bodies of water. Also, with these tinier updates come less bugs and less time needing to spend to fix them. Now, of course, at the time of recording, I'm still having issues with terrain generation, and it's really hurting the game for me, and I'm seeing a lot of this in my Twitter. Now, I've reported this, obviously, to the powers that be through the Zendesk, so before you at me on Twitter or in the comments going, make sure you tell them, I'm way ahead of you, bro. I gotcha. So I'm really hoping they have some focus on that right now, because with Beyond, terrain generation has become absolutely broken for me. I can't even land my ship. I can barely walk in certain places on the terrain without falling through. Buildings either float above the terrain or maybe sunken below the terrain by 3 or 4 feet. It's just not optimal, and with planets and terrain being pretty much the main draw for No Man's Sky, Beyond really harmed that aspect of it. Which was weird because terrain generation for No Man's Sky Next was perfect. They had it down pretty much where it needed to be. But my guess is with the optimizations and different tweaks and whatever passes they did to accommodate VR, something somewhere got broke. And now I don't know that everybody is experiencing these issues from what I'm getting on Twitter, but I'm seeing an uncomfortable amount of it from folks who are responding to my tweets complaining about it. But that brings me to my last subject here. The introduction of ship customization and synthesis has me thinking that maybe they might be considering adding a shipbuilding aspect to this game, which I'm all for. Like when you address the ship terminal and it sort of separates your ship into various different pieces in the hologram, I'm really hoping that that's what they're aiming for. So I really need stuff like that. And with an impactful update, finger quotes, that they said in their most recent note for whatever's happening next, however long we have to wait for that, I'm really excited to see what they're about to do with it, right? Shipbuilding being one of those things that if I'm looking at Bolam's artwork for the various different ship types that he sort of pitched, that's in the No Man's Sky art book and on Bolam's Twitter page, you would start to basically see that there was a lot of different assets for ships that didn't quite make it into the game, which really saddens me. One other thing that really killed Beyond for me really was the wait. The lack of communication and everything like that. I really think that VR should have just been its own update. And maybe the focus for No Man's Sky Online could have possibly come after that. Now, I'm not an employee with the studio. I'm not a professional coder. I'm not any of that, right? But I really, really hope that the update and communication structure going forward is where we are right now, right? Smaller, more bite-sized updates that aren't general, gigantic undertakings that take a year with a lack of communication and understanding about where things are going, right? And it was Beyond that made me realize how much, even though I wasn't a proponent for it, really wasn't a big supporter for it, why we kind of needed Waking Titan and the ARG to kind of carry us on. But if I'm being honest, I'm really hoping that we don't see any more yearly anniversary updates, right? Because I just don't think that's sustainable going forward. I think No Man's Sky is in a really good place right now where it can continue to just get these smaller updates with tinier content, you know, provided that that's easy on the studio and they aren't killing themselves, because that's the last thing I want. I would rather wait the year, to be honest. I think that's just more ethical, honestly. What do you think? Put down in the comment section how you feel about Synthesis, how you feel about Beyond. Do you want shipbuilding? Tell me what you think it could do for the game. And what do you think the new impactful update is going to be coming up? Do you think it's a Switch update? I know I get dragged on Twitter pretty regularly when I talk about Nintendo Switch and No Man's Sky, but I'd like to see your thoughts down below regardless. Thanks for staying with the channel. I know the content has been slower, but because I just really didn't like Beyond and I didn't think there was a whole lot to talk about that wasn't mean stuff. And I kind of tend to want to keep it positive, or at least objective around here, if you've been here hanging out for however many months or years. But if you thought this video was useful to your No Man's Sky experience for whatever else, please do like the video. It definitely helps, especially since No Man's Sky viewership has kind of tanked a little bit. And subscribe to the LZ for future content for whatever No Man's Sky or future games coming up, like Final Fantasy VII Remake and what have you. I'd like to get into more coverage of that stuff too. See you later.